few things in life are more important than yourself. And what I mean is, don't be selfish, but recognize everything that happens in your life and everything that you interact with in your life. The only common thing is you. So every job you have, the only common denominator there is you. And if you perform all your jobs good, then you're someone who does things well. But if you don't take care of yourself, it's almost impossible to have high levels of energy, which is what is required to perform well. Stop with the notifications, please. And so, right now, I'm doing a lunch break. But if I have a lunch break like normal people, I'm way less productive. I like to do something throughout my lunch break that helps offload me mentally. Sometimes I'll even go and lift for 30 minutes, very quickly, just to get some my heart rate up. And I think of this that the brain gets overloaded, and then you kind of take attention from the neurons in your brain to the neurons around your body. So it's you kind of relax the central nervous system by kind of pulling attention out of it. And this is mostly bro science. I haven't found some literature to support to support this. It is just something I kind of came up with out of desperation, because every time I would have a normal lunch break, which is talk to other people or go and have a meal, I would crash. And I'm not saying I don't eat in my breaks. I'm just saying that if I spend more than 30 minutes resting, it's very hard for me to kick back in at the same speed. For me, an ideal break most of the time is up to 30 minutes. So I would much rather have not 1 hour break and 2 15 minutes. I would much rather have 3 30-minute breaks. It's the same time. And what really has been my pet peeve is when I ask my employers to kind of be listen, this is how I work better. Is it okay if I do this? And every time they say yes, my performance just goes up. And if they tell me no, it's got to be scheduled and all that, and it's I'm not a normal person. I don't think I am. And I'm not saying this to be oh, whatever. I'm just saying that the way my brain works, it requires different conditions to perform the best work it can. And there's certain scenarios where I shine so brightly that it's insane. But I don't know how to recreate that. And what I've actually been spending time on is learning how to actually recreate that stuff. And it's kind of the person who can start studying 1 month before the test. I've never been able to do this. And if I do, I'm so bored. And what really kind of turns me on to the max is where there's a little bit of chaos, where things are a little bit stressful. That's when I tend to perform the best. And I have no idea why. There's something, called the warrior gene, and then the warrior gene. So it's I got the warrior type, which I think, at least, it lets me push through where there's pressure. So if there's stress, I shine. If things are normal, I'm kind of it's I get myself to do things, but it's not with the same intensity. And I had friends at university which were exactly the opposite. Especially, they would be so well, they would do so well when there's a routine and structure and everything is super, how do I say this? When the work is spaced out evenly. So they would do really well studying weeks before the exam, but they wouldn't do really well the 2 days before that. And I was exactly the opposite way. And I was so angry at myself that I couldn't do what they were doing, until I realized I'm actually kind of a different person. And unfortunately, I didn't realize this, while I was still in the university. And I wasn't able to take advantage of that. But now that I know this, it allows me to, first of all, recognize this in other people. And it makes me very effective when I'm trying to coach somebody and trying to help them get the results they want. Because most people are frustrated from trying and not achieving anything. That is the most frustrating thing. People can try really hard. We can try really hard. We can go to incredible amounts of effort, as long as there is a reason for it. Why is doing hard things hard? It's because it's not worth it. If it is worth it, being hard doesn't really make a difference. Why do people play Dark Souls in any Soulsborne game like Bloodborne and Elden Ring? These games are not easy. They're probably the hardest games that exist. And People love it, including me. Like I've played Sekiro and it was my favorite game. Like the game, the battle mechanics, the postures, the deflects. It is so like beautiful. It's really, there's a timing. The timing of it is so satisfying. It's so satisfying. And I noticed when I was fighting the Guardian Ape, I sucked. But when I was fighting the two Guardian Apes, I did way better. And of course, you have progressed through the game, right? You've learned a bit more. But the Guardian Ape got me like, I don't know, like over 30 times. And the two apes, I probably got them on the first or second attempt. It's like, there's something about adding more stress to the plate rather than taking away that for some reason unlocks, like it kicks you into gear. It kicks you into a speed you didn't know you could achieve. And I've been playing around with this, like actually trying to do a bit more, like putting a bit more. And there's this very interesting study, which I heard about this from Dr. Andrew Huberman. He said that if you do something that is unpleasant and you add like a couple minutes, so you do a cold shower and it's unpleasant, but you add like 2 minutes in, but you reduce the coldness of the water. So it's not like groundbreaking. You're not like, hurting yourself by any means, but you extend the exposure of the unpleasant activity. And next time you go in, it's easier to get inside of it because you like extend the exposure. And so basically what I'm trying to say is you get used to how do I say this? You train your brain that it's not as bad as you think it is. Because your brain, it makes its own decisions. I'm sorry, but it absolutely does. And the brain's decisions will very often conflict with your decisions because your decisions are not based on physical pain. Your decisions are based on meaningful pain. You don't want to feel meaningless. You don't want to live a life that is meaningless. And so your decisions are based on, this is what I absolutely need to do to feel meaning in my life. This is like what actually makes me not want to like shoot myself, punch myself in the face. And it's like, yeah, but the only thing that stops you then is your brain, because your brain has all these other thoughts of, but we're gonna get tired, okay? We're gonna get hungry, we're hungry, It's like, we're not gonna eat chocolate ever again, oh my God. And so what happens is you make the good, high quality, like meaningful decision that is so profound. Then the brain kicks in and it starts to like basically throw arguments at you. It's just throwing dirt at you. Brain is the biggest hater, man. It's like, you couldn't do this. You're gonna get tired. You don't have enough energy. And it's like starts to throw a bunch of things, which if you listen to them, are kind of all about your limitations. Like your brain most of the time throws you limitations. It doesn't throw you support, does it? It doesn't say, this is hard, but we've done this 10 times before, so we're probably going to be doing this. No, it says, man, you know what? We've slept only 5 hours today, only 6 hours. We cannot go and lift the same weight we do when we sleep 8 hours. First of all, we can. But why doesn't the brain say that? Why doesn't the brain say, this is what we usually do? Of course we can do it. And this is some kind of a survival technique. But the brain is made for survival. It's not made for living a meaningful life. It's not even made for being happy. Which happiness is here, meaning is here. And so if you cannot even be happy with your brain, what do? And the answer is you change your brain. You gotta basically you gotta install a new operating system, right? You gotta change the code that's running in the background, right? You gotta rewrite everything. Change the source code, and it's going to start giving you actually good stuff, actually suggestions that are useful. I'm not saying this doesn't take time. I'm not saying it's not difficult. It's because it's difficult that we haven't done it yet. But if we do it, it's the things that we haven't done yet that are going to unlock what we have not yet received. If we've tried everything else, and we just stay in the same space, clearly what we have not tried is the answer. If we've tried everything and we don't get what we want, there's the thing that we have not tried that is going to get that. That's what the thing that we avoid is where the most experiences, is where the most gain is. It's because we never think to do those things. And I know this is kind of obvious stuff, but we know we should be doing those things. But there's still so much resistance to doing them. What is that about? Why is it so hard to do something so simple? And the answer, again, is because it's not worth it. It's not worth it making my bed. It's not worth it taking a cold shower. It's not worth it, anything stupid that you can do. Because it's too small. It's too small for your brain. And your brain doesn't want to feel small. The brain wants to pat itself on the back like that. Bump your chest. It just wants to feel important. And so it refuses to do small things. It refuses to do small tasks that are quote unquote meaningless. And so, nothing is meaningless though. And the thing that is meaningful, there's argument to be made that it isn't that meaningful anyways. But what I've stumbled on is that the biggest limitations on my life have been pretty much treating things that are small as they're not important, which is a completely different thing. There's a bunch of small things that are important. And it wasn't until I actually went I'm going to treat everything everything equally. I'm going to crush everything equally. Anything that is between me and my goals, that's not a small thing. That's a big thing. Not because of the size, but because of the position where it's at. It's standing between me and my goals. That's not a small thing. That's not something insignificant. Are you telling me that my goals are insignificant? Are you telling me that I am insignificant? Brain? Why are you telling me this thing is small? I thought you wanted to feel important. Brain. What is this? What kind of BS are you giving me right now? And then you check your brain and your brain goes, you are right. This isn't a small thing. How dare this thing stand between us and our goal? You then get pissed and you do it. Because how can this thing exist in your life? How can this thing be allowed to take another second of your life? It can't. It's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable behavior. And to wrap this up, there's no small enemy. I believe I read this in a Japanese book. It was either a Miyamoto Musashi book or it was Bushido, the Way of the Samurai. But it was a Japanese book, and I remember reading this quote, there's no small enemy. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, it hit. So I just wanted to share this because there really are no small enemies. If your goals are huge, anything between you and them could be like a level 2 goblin. Fuck that goblin. That goblin is getting my ultimate. I'm not saving, I'm attacking everything equally. Okay? I'm not saying use your ultimate on level 2 mobs and, don't have it for the boss. I'm just saying don't ignore the goblin. Be like, oh, I'll deal with you later while you're attacking the boss. And these little minions are draining your HP. Kill them. All of them. We're aiming to clear the game. We're not here to, we're not here just for the boss. We cannot tank this damage right now. If we have teammates, they can tank the damage for us. We can have people make our bed. We can have people, cook food for us. We can have people, we could order meal prep. We could do all these things because we have teammates. But if we don't have teammates, if we're solo, you gotta kill those. We're playing Sekiro right now. We have to be stealthy. We have to take all the enemies before engaging with the boss. That's all we have to do. We just have to clear the entire dungeon. Okay? Not just the boss. Because to get to the boss and just fight the boss with our full power, we cannot be fighting multiple opponents at the same time. That's all I gotta say. Kill everything. Just crush everything. Crush it. Crush everything equally. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Making your bed, doing 200 phone calls. If you start sleeping on the other, if you start saying later on the other, you learn the skill of not doing your bed. You learn the skill of saying later. And when you learn it for not making your bed, you're going to learn it for not making calls. And then you're going to learn it for not making videos and not editing videos. And then eventually, You start with not doing one thing. And before you know it, you're not doing 5 things. That's why that thing cannot be allowed to exist. It seeps in. Wipe your mind. Start fresh. Crush everything. When you're sitting in your room and it's perfectly clean and you've done a day's full worth of work, that is actually you. That is actually you. Anything else, you waking up not making your bed, you skipping on work, this isn't you. That's not you. Just want you to know that. That's not you. That's brain BS. That's having a bunch of little minions poking your HP while you're trying to fight something important. When you've killed everything and you're the only one left in the dungeon, that's when it's actually you. That's who you actually are.